Hey, so I want to show you how to get started building an armature for your bird. The first thing you want to do is you want to start with some wire, and you want to create 2 feet and legs. So I'm just going to sort of unroll some wire, and if you're a teacher and you're listening, I'm using 20 gauge wire because it's soft enough to be cut by scissors, but still heavy enough to create things. You can use scissors. I'm using a little pair of wire cutters. So cut yourself something that's, I don't know, maybe about 1 foot long. It doesn't have to be super long. And what you want to do first is you want to start with the feet. Now, you want each toe, so we'll call them the 3 toes for our bird feet, you want each one to be probably a lot larger than it would be in real life. And the reason is that, excuse me, the reason is that otherwise your bird sculpture will fall over. So you want a nice base for it to stand on. So the way I like to start it is I like to just take the end of my wire, so there it is, and I just sort of bend it over just like that. So I've made a loop, see? And then I just sort of give it a good twist. Wire's all about twisting. And I've got a little loop, right? So that could be 1 toe of like a 3-toed bird foot. So I just bend my wire down and I make another loop, right? And then I do the same thing. I just sort of twist that together. There's no right or wrong way to twist. You just twist it. So now I've got 2, see? Okay. Ooh. All right. And then I want to take a 3rd one and make a 3rd loop, and then same thing, twist that together. So now I've got, excuse me, I've got 3 nice toes for a bird foot, right? Now, this isn't probably coming up straight. Now this wire, it seems like it's pretty strong right now, but if I had weight on it, it's gonna bend. So one of the smartest things I could do is I could take the remaining wire, and you can see I have quite a bit left. I'm gonna bend it down. See how there's a big loop there? So there's my 3 little toes, and there's my big loop. I'm gonna take it, just sort of bend it around. So that's the end. I'm just sort of bending it around. And then I'm gonna twist the rest of it together. So twisted wire is stronger than just a single piece of wire. If you've ever seen those metal cables anywhere, they're almost always twisted. If you ever drive across a bridge that's made with wire suspension, look at those wires. It's like huge wires that are all twisted together because now they're extra strong. So I'm just gonna keep twisting, and I'm gonna leave myself a little loop at the top because I'm not exactly sure how I wanna join it to the next piece. So I always like to have a little bit extra so I can kind of play around. Be careful, do you see when you get little tiny edges like that? If I push on that too hard, it could tear into my skin. So usually when I get to little pieces like that, I just sort of leave it. And you don't even have to bend your foot any way you want it right now. That's it, that's all. There you go, let me turn it sideways. So that's my little foot. So you wanna make 2 of these, and once you have 2 of these, you're good to go, and we're gonna make the body. Okay, now I'm gonna show you how you build the whole bird armature for your bird sculpture. Now, if you remember that word armature, that's the skeleton of our sculpture, and sometimes it helps if you talk about it like it's a stick figure. So if we're talking about stick figure, I've already made 2 legs and feet. So you can see those are very stick figure-like, right? And one's a little bit bigger than the other. It's not a big deal. We can totally deal with that later. So those are my 2 feet. And now I'm working on the body. So for your body, you want to make sure that you actually look at a picture of your bird, and you can look at it on your Chromebook. It doesn't have to be printed out, but I'm shooting a video, so I printed it out. I'm doing this American cardinal, and really what I'm looking at is like just sort of like that if I was going to draw this as a stick figure, I'd probably just draw a line up through here. And in fact, I can show you that really quick. So if I've got my bird right here, all I have to do is I can just sort of say, okay, I'm just going to draw a line like that all the way down to the tail. And then eventually I'll do the legs here with their 3 little toes. So if I pull that up, can you see the stick figure part? So there's my line, and there's my leg. So right now I'm working on this line part. Okay, so remember how we talked about twisted wire is always stronger? So I've got myself a nice cut of wire, and I'm just gonna fold my wire in half. You can't see all of it in the picture. And you might ask me, well, how long does my wire need to be? That kind of depends on how big you want your bird to be. We don't want our birds to be too huge, so I would say don't shoot for larger than real life, especially if you have a big bird. But I would say about 2 feet of wire is going to be more than enough for you. So if you needed a measure, there you go. And I'm just going to start twisting it together. be careful when you twist because you'll have these ends moving around. So like when I twist, if my friend was sitting here, I could accidentally poke them or poke them in the eye. So you might want to be careful, kind of hold it down to your side, or you can do it up and down like I'm doing it right now. So now I have this nice and doubled up, and I know I want it to kind of have this sort of a curve to it. So what I'm going to do is sort of just bend it to make this curve. So see, and that'll be pretty much how big my bird is, and then I'll do 2 legs coming down off of it. So I don't really need for it to be that big. So I mean, too much bigger than this. If you see, like, there's my hand and I'm a grown adult, that's a pretty large sculpture for us. The other thing you have to think about is the tail. So I didn't really think about the tail yet. So there's this, and then maybe a little bit more for tail. So what I'm gonna do is, I have a lot of extra. I'm just gonna bend that extra up, and I'm gonna twist it around because it totally doesn't hurt it to be twisted around a little bit more. And the more you twist it, the more layers of wire are in that twist, the harder it's going to be to twist. Also be careful of these little edges. You don't want to poke a finger. And hands get dirty when we mess with wire. It's okay. We will wash them at the end. Okay. So, and it may have gotten out of, may have gotten a little too twisted, so let me kind of reshape it. Now what I need to do is I need to join my legs, and of course at this point you don't want your legs to be too much longer, and again we're just going to twist them on, so you just have to figure out where they're going to be. So on my bird they're kind of at that midpoint, so I'm going to pick right here. Okay, and again I'm just going to twist it on there. And I remember how I have this extra loop. I can either nip that off or I can just sort of keep twisting, and I generally like to just keep twisting. Again, this doesn't have to be real pretty because we can always just rebend it, and then we're also not going to see it. So that would be one leg. All right. I have his toes going the wrong way, or her toes. Okay. And then I twist on the other one. You want to make sure that they're about the same length. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. If you twisted one up, you might want to twist the other one down just for balance reasons. So now you want to test to see if it'll stand up. So what you do is you bend your feet. So I'm bending my feet. Remember how I talked about the importance of a tail? So the tail is going to sit on the table or surface as well, because it's going to be kind of like a tripod. And so this could be my bird. Okay, so there it is, standing up. If I turn it sideways, you can kind of see it sort of looks like a dinosaur right now, which is interesting because some people think that birds are descendants of dinosaurs in some way. So there you go. But here you go. This is your armature, and now you're ready for the next step.